Yo, what up, y'all? Live with Coach RT3. This is episode number 12. And this week we have our guest, Jim Romig. Jim is a mindful movement coach up in the north of California, an amazing mover. I call him the mad scientist because he seems to be in the lab creating all types of interesting movement options for the body. And I'm really excited to talk to him. I met Jim a while back, a few years ago, and haven't had a chance to connect with him since, but been watching his work evolve, and it's been amazing. There he is. So it's been nice filming all of this out of my kitchen, which has been super fancy. But
I'm in my kitchen too.
So yeah, I was just telling everybody, giving everybody a little background on you. I kind of like see you as like the mad scientist of fitness, because the stuff that I see you create and come up with is just like so outside of the box of the norm. And for anyone who doesn't, follow you or see what you do, maybe they don't understand it as well. So I thought it'd be awesome to get you on here and like actually get you talking about like your background, your history, and how you've evolved to the person that you are now and the coach that you are at this point. So without further ado, if you could just kind of give us a chronology of Jim, like where you come from, where you're from originally, and how you've evolved to where you're at.
Right on, man. I'm honored as hell, by the way, from what you said. Like my heart is a flutter from your kind words. So thanks very much, man.
Hey, welcome, man.
But actually, as funny as it is, I started off in professional wrestling. So I used to, I don't know if you ever used to watch like WCW and all that back in the day, but I used to go on the road with Manny Fernandez, the Raging Bull. And he took us in the ring. We used to go down south, like to Tennessee and North Carolina and stuff, and Texas, and go wrestle over there. And like he would teach us like hold moves and kind of like the chain wrestling thing. Then after we started learning that stuff, I was like, well, jiu-jitsu is actually kind of fun because he taught us how to do real things too.
Right.
Because he's like a legit wrestling coach also. So then I kind of started getting liking the real combat more than the planned combat, even though both are freaking awesome. And then that led me into training and coaching and learning about the body and movement, because I figured it would go hand in hand with fighting. Right. And then it turns out I really like how humans move and humans work and how that ties into their emotion and their being. And then that kind of fascinated me more than fighting did. So now it's just a matter of kind of seeing how movement expresses like what's inside people. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Each person is a puzzle, and it kind of shows how they hold and how they walk and stuff.
Yeah. So like where, like before you got into wrestling, like what was your first, like what was your early experiences? Like where were you originally from, and what were your like earliest influences as far as getting into or moving towards that direction?
I guess honestly, since I popped out the womb, my mom was a competitive bodybuilder when she was pregnant with me. She had like single-digit body fat while she was pregnant with me.
Wow.
And my dad and stuff, they'd compete and go train and stuff all the time. And I grew up, they put me in every sport you could imagine just to keep me busy because I was too hyperactive. And I just always wanted to do stuff. And I was always trying to wrestle my friends and wrestle people that didn't want to wrestle me. They just kept putting me in sports. They're like, Jesus, this kid, like, go do something. So then they just put me anything they could find, and it was fun. And then that just kept me, like, I'm always interested in, like, whatever it is. Like, just being physical, it's always something fun about it, Yeah. It always brings the best out in people, or it brings the worst out in people. But it's always something that people can do together and have fun with and grow together. Like, nice. Instead of just sitting around,
Right.
But,
so when I met you, you were down in Salinas. Is that where you're originally from?
Yeah, born and raised in Salinas. Actually, right outside Salinas, a little podunk town called Prudendale. And so that's kind of where I spent most of my childhood and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I took off from there for a while. I went to Arizona when I was like 20, 21. Did that for about a year, then came back to Salinas, and now I've been in Redding the past almost 2 years. But most of my life was down there in that area.
And what drew you up to Reading?
Something new. My wife and I sold our house back south, and then
Hmm.
she has some family up here. And then we had visited a number of times, and I really fell in love with the outdoor feel. There's so many lakes and trails and
Yeah,
everything here. It just kind of was. We wanted to give it a shot, and so
yeah.
we've been here. She took a traveling job at the hospital, and now she's permanent over there.
Hmm.
And we just bought a house, so now we're
Nice.
in escrow,
Congrats.
waiting to move in. And thank you. We're just going to see how this goes. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, so now that you got a house, you got to get some little mini Romigs running around up
I
there.
don't know if I'm ready for
If they're as active as you were as a kid, then you probably aren't ready for that, right?
that. Yeah, I don't know, especially if there's two of them. Man, I don't know if I can hang. But at least it would keep me busy and it would make me tired. I'd sleep well at night.
Yeah, probably for sure. Um, so you spend a lot of your time outdoors. You like,
As much as I can. I like to. Like it's as much as I can. Like even today I went out for an hour and just read by the river,
mhm.
and you kind of go over there and you stick your head in the river and stuff. And I like being outside. It's hard for me to sit indoors.
Yeah,
And usually like editing videos or filming or doing something, it makes me be indoors and it drives me nuts. So
yeah. I mean, you crank them out though, man. Like your videos are like pretty consistent.
oh,
Um,
thank you. You too, man.
what?
Shit, you're putting awesome content.
Yeah,
I gotta say, dude, you honestly are one of the dudes that inspires me on a regular basis.
I
With how
appreciate that.
open and honest and like the quality of the stuff you're putting out, man, it is commendable as all hell. So you're definitely one of the people that I look to on a regular basis and like, thank you. It definitely helped me do what I do.
I appreciate that, and vice versa. I think there's a definitely mutual respect there for that. Um,
Thanks, brother.
so, do you have a background in yoga as well? Because I notice a lot of some of the stuff you do is yoga-ish, um,
Uh,
but not
not I
necessarily
guess
yoga.
not strict yoga. I guess if any like real yogis would kind of scoff at me being a yogi, kind of thing. I'm just a dude that likes to move, and it turns out that yoga-esque things are just very beneficial, and it's kind of funny how it gets lumped into things because if you move in a different way that's not a squat or a lunge or whatever, you're a
Hmm.
yoga dude. And it's like, well, movement's movement. Like it could be a strength drill too. It could, if
Yeah,
you only do 4 reps of it cleanly and with a lot of tension, that's a strength drill.
yeah,
It's just a different movement pattern.
right.
So it's just I guess I get lumped into the yoga thing, but a big part of what got me that was CST, Tac Fit,
Hmm.
and Scott Sonnen. Like
Hmm.
we got introduced to into flow and got introduced to vinyasa or not vinyasa. What was it?
Hmm.
Prasara yoga. So like movement yoga and things like that, and that
Hmm.
really got me started
Hmm.
on that. Like kind of opened my eyes and got me on a path for that.
Right.
And then just tons of rad coaches and stuff since then.
Yeah, yeah. So do you also did you find because that's actually I wasn't involved in Tac Fit in any way, but that's actually kind of like what I saw from a distance that kind of eventually led me to you in the first place. Through a series of events, chain of events, long chain of events, but it also has kind of had some degree of influence um, in just my life overall, like even as a peripheral thing, not as something that I've like been inside of, but like as a peripheral thing. I think it's had a fair bit of influence. What did you find most useful about exploring TACFIT?
I don't know. Like TACO was just awesome because we really got to use a lot of different tools and like in relation to different movements as well. Because when we
Hmm.
were doing like the strict CST kind of thing, it's mostly just clubs or it's
Hmm.
mostly just body weight. But TACO, you kind of got to play around with everything.
Hmm.
And then I'd say just the variety of things you have to play with there was fun. But just like the mindset of CST and RMAX in general, like it really helps you to engage movement in a different way and realize there are so many ways that we can move and so
Hmm.
many ways that are beneficial and not be scared of trying to engage these like ways and move in these ways that can kind of be scary,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like to move through those ways in confidence, the kind of ways and transitions that people will speed through and trying to get through. It's like, well, what are we speeding through? What are we running from? Like, let's engage this and see what's really there.
Right.
So, like, and just taking movement from I don't know, just to a whole different level for me. It really, because I guess it's kind of based on people, like the way that I was kind of learned to believe it was like that movement system was kind of based on fighting. Really,
Mm-hmm.
it's like kind of helping people. Hey, you know how to fight, you know how to roll, you know how to grapple. You're just doing it by yourself,
Right.
you know. So it's like, and since I came from fighting, that spoke to me, and so
Right.
it's like, oh wow, you know, it really is, because that's some of the most dynamic and diverse stuff you can do is battle. You know, you're going to find
Yeah.
yourself in awkward positions, awkward situations, even just for a split second at a time, and it's just so much to it. But when you can kind of gear your movement towards that and realize, you know, there's a lot of safe ways to go about it, it can reap a lot of benefits.
Yeah.
For sure.
So like what I find interesting, like about watching you move and do stuff is that, um, it's very precise, right? Like there's a lot of precision involved in what I see, like visually, right? And you give fairly, extensive descriptions to people about like what is going on and what's happening and what you're trying to accomplish. How do you feel, um, like it's hard for me to understand how that fits inside of programming. So how do you, um, like for example, like you did a series recently, what was it on? Um, God, there was one in particular that I was really that I was there was it was a multi-part series. Um,
Oh, the kettlebell fighters flow.
yeah, that
The
was
one.
it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Um, so like my question is how do you, like when you're training a person or when you're looking at a person, um, how does that fit into what you're trying to accomplish in their specific like goals? Like if they're trying to, um, I mean, it's clear that how it applies to a fighter, but if you're going to integrate that into working with an individual who may not be a fighter, um, how does that kind of fit?
Well, for like honestly, I've never done it with anybody.
No.
I always kind of I don't make people do all that stuff. It's like, hey, I'm gonna put this out there for you guys to do if you want to do it, you know.
Right.
And I think a big part for me is like getting people just to feel and be confident with the movement and letting them incorporate the programming how they want. So that's
Hmm.
why I kind of did like a 6-part series. Here's the basic way how to do the individual parts on a remedial level, and now here's
Right.
how you can tie them together. Here's the next step, basic parts, tie them together, and so people can just play with it and progress with it as they will.
Hmm.
I'm a big proponent of like, just as long as they know how to do something well, let them figure out what they want to do with it. Let them see what speaks to
Hmm.
them, you know, because
Hmm.
I don't know, programming's great, but it's sometimes people get so obsessed with programming that it's like they have to do that one thing, or if they're not doing it, it's going to ruin their day, or I don't know.
Right.
They get really, that kind of becomes more important than what they're actually doing. The
Yeah.
fact that it's programmed and they know what it is, it's just
Right.
like, have fun with it. If you got something specific you're working towards, then gear it towards it. But I'm kind of just more about having fun. If something speaks to you, do it. If you're going to do it well.
So like you take kind of an exploratory approach to movement,
Mm-hmm. And
kind of
unless
just.
someone has a specific goal, there's nothing really to specifically gear towards. As
Hmm.
long as they're having fun, moving well, and like just learning new stuff and getting more confident and more sure of their own body and their own mind, win.
Hmm.
Not everybody's going to be paying their mortgage by competitions. Very few
Right.
people. So that's kind
Right.
of the fun thing. Like, oh, where's my programming? What's this? What's this? Aren't you a banker? What's it matter? What's this shit matter? What are you doing? So
um,
everyone wants to be a professional athlete and everyone wants to train like that, but for what? It
right.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I now see that's something like you might have seen my post recently where I think I scratched the surface of it. I didn't go into depth on it, but that's something I wholeheartedly, believe like we are not, and I kind of talked about it a little bit in my last week with my friend Nat, who's here local, and it's like, no, you are not an athlete. Like you are an athlete to some degree, yes, sure, however you want to put it, but we are not professional athletes. We don't get paid for this, you know, like we don't get
Exactly.
paid to wreck our bodies on a daily basis. So what are we actually doing?
Hmm.
Um, so it's always refreshing to hear or find other coaches who don't kind of create systems that are designed to like just drive people into the ground unnecessarily.
Yeah, I had my fill of that, and I don't want to do it to anybody else. I've wrecked myself too many times in too hard of ways to ever wish on anybody. So
Yeah,
that's kind of why I'm very relaxed and chill with that kind of stuff and say, do it well. And once you do it well, do it as hard as you want, as long as you're still doing it well.
right.
And if you stop doing it well, you know when to stop, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. That's hey, that's yeah. No, I had a an athletic trainer when I first got out of college. I used to intern with an athletic trainer here for San Francisco City College, um, and they were national champion, you know, team multiple years in a row. And I remember he made this statement, and I had no idea how to like comprehend it at the time. And he was like, know your limit and stay below it. He used to tell these guys on the football team, like, know your limit and stay below it. And, you know, at the time, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, what is this guy talking about? I'm like, he's just old. He wasn't that old. He was probably like 30. I mean, he's probably like 35 at the time. You know, I'm only
It's just so
21. I'm like, this guy's lost his mind. Like, what do you mean, know your limit and stay below it? And it wasn't until I got into my 30s that I was kind of like, you know, that guy had some sort of point. Like, you know, it's like know that that point at which if you go beyond it, it's a breaking point, right? Like
Mhm.
stay, you know, the goal is to like get right at that edge and right near it, but not to actually like break through it, right? Like you hear these people go like, you know, you just go until the wheels fall off, and it's like, I don't want my wheels falling off.
Yeah, not yet. And you know, and there's times where it's like if you want to push because you need that, fine, go for it.
Right,
Just make sure that you're so in touch with your body that you're not gonna mess yourself up doing it.
right, right.
All right, I realize that we're live right now, and I don't want to be cussing. But yeah, it's like it's great to push, but it's like how often do you really need to push? And if you are, is it worth your health?
Right,
You know, so it's like why not get to a point where we can listen to our bodies so well that we can push as hard as we want for as long as we want, but that's as far as we go. We
right,
don't go further to the point of injury. We know when that injury is coming. We know when to dial it back.
right,
So it's like taking that responsibility and taking that ownership of our movement in our bodies, and not just
right,
hey, I'm going to make my body do a bunch of stuff, and then once it stops, I'm going to be mad, and once I get
right,
hurt, I'm going to be mad. You
right,
know, it's like find your limits and scrape those limits as often as you
right,
have to, but why push through?
right.
Why push through better things in life? I'd rather be able to have sex that night than lift up 20 more pounds. Why? Why,
I,
why blow up your back and not
I,
bang? It's
I agree.
ridiculous. There's so much better stuff to do.
There's much better stuff to do. I mean,
Yeah.
setbacks are huge after certain ages, you know, like these sort of physical setbacks are like, you know, once you're down for the count, it's like getting back is the hard part, right?
Exactly. Super. And it's humbling too, because you know, you feel like you can do anything, and then all of a sudden you reach for a dish the wrong way and your back goes out, and you're like, what in the hell? It's such a, you know, it really brings reality to a screeching halt. And I got to reassess things. I don't think I'm as much of a superhero as I thought. You
Right.
know? Maybe I needed to lift my body just a little bit more if that's what put me out, you know?
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with that 100%. And you know, it's one of the things that we've been focusing on a lot. Um, and we have this ankle series that we were just doing where it was like, you know, let's move the ankle in such a way that we can now test those edges, those in ranges, and like speak to our body and understand like what's going on at that range, you know, and then we can make that connection between that neurological connection to say, okay, this is the limit here. You know, let's teach the body that, hey, this is the limit of that ankle flexion or, you know, whatever direction you're going in, and let's communicate that with the body.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's kind of like even just doing a diagnostic, an internal diagnostic. You know, you're kind of feeling, hey, where can I go? How far with this? Right there, right now? Cool. And it might be a little more next time, might be a little less next time. But whatever it is, you got to know it and you got to work with it.
Right.
And not force anything else. Because anytime something's forced, rarely does it turn out well. You know? In most cases.
So like when I first encountered you, you were doing a lot of med ball stuff. And I thought that was really cool because nobody, I mean, still to this day, nobody's really doing anything significant as far as I know, or as far as I've seen with the medicine ball. Talk to us a little bit about that exploration, because I mean, you haven't revisited it, but it was pretty cool stuff.
Oh, thanks, man. It was med ball athletics. That's actually what internal roots movement turned into. So what was med ball athletics is now internal roots movement. Just because I didn't want to get like pigeonholed and like, oh, that guy just does med balls,
right?
You know, kind of thing. But at the same time, that still is my favorite. I love medicine balls, man. It's so much fun because all I really did too, I just mimicking a fight with nobody else there. So you got to have your hands up and you got to be able to move around with your hips and your legs and get up and down without reaching out and doing things, you know. And you can just hold it in so many different ways that's so athletically applicable. Like no matter where you want to hold it and load up your structure, there's always a way that you're going to be able to go about doing it and go about movement patterns as you hold it that's really going to cross over into not just athletics, but everyday life. Right. You know, and you can kind of do stuff that was really like kind of stimulates athletic stuff more than just holding a barbell or moving up and down, left and right, you know, kind of stuff. It just opens up a whole new world to be able to do a lot of cool stuff, whether it's on you, whether you're on it, whether you're hitting it, whether you're catching it. You're working hand-eye coordination. You're working so many different things, you know, like, and all that's possible just from a medicine ball and a little bit of room and possibly a wall. Right. Like it's just, there's unlimited amount of things you can do with it. And then when you want to cool down or you want to warm up, you got a great companion for that too.
Right. I actually found myself cooling down with the med ball the other day. No one took a photo, thank God, but I'd done a pretty hardcore high intensity workout, and I used the med ball for some rotational, you know, shovel kind of slams at the wall. And that was just one of the movements that I had done. And by the time I was finished, I was just spent, and I was laying there like on the med ball, like this. And one of my colleagues was like, "That's an awesome picture right there. You look." You look like you love that med ball. And I was like, actually, I'm just so damn tired. and if I didn't have this med ball here, you know, I'd be on the floor sprawled out. So thank you, med ball.
It makes corpse pose a lot more interesting, you know?
Great companions. They
don't have much to say, but they always give you something to do.
Right. So, what other tools do you enjoy? I see you use the club quite a bit as well. So,
yeah, I love clubs.
Yeah,
clubs and maces, like they're so much fun, man. Like that, and that's again going back with Scott Sonnen and Armax and CST. And John Wolf. That's who they're who introduced me to clubs, like way back in the day. And man, they're just so much fun because you do so much cool rotational stuff. And there's something really unique about a tool that is trying to hit you and trying to fly away from you at the same time, you know, and like what you've got to do to make sure that you're safe and you're getting through that, you're getting through it in a healthy way. Yeah. But like, it's really a unique kind of, both those very unique tools. Anything you're swinging in all kinds of fun, different ranges of motion and kind of just doing weapons training, really, you know, like, so again, it's a battle oriented and a battle based kind of mindset where you're playing with this stuff like you're playing with swords, essentially, and it just brings out a part of you that's just like, yeah, this makes sense. God bless those people that sit there and curl and do that kind of stuff.
I know.
There's something about just swinging stuff around and feeling like you're Conan the Barbarian that just, you know, it's kind of hard to match.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that was my first experience was with clubs in Thailand.
Thailand?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I used to live in Thailand. There was one guy who had clubs. he was a friend of he was a friend of a lady who had a gym there, and I remember seeing clubs on YouTube and being like, that would be cool to have. And she was like, "Oh, this guy has clubs." I think his name was Roy. Um, I think actually it's like Club Bells Thailand or something like that. Like you can find his like website, and like just dial him up and be like, "Hey, I need clubs." And I have no idea where he sources them from, but you get clubs and competition kettlebells from him. And so I picked up a couple of competition bells and a couple of clubs, and we began kind of like playing around with them, seeing how they work. And I remember the first time I picked one up, I was like, this thing is incredibly heavy, but it's only 10 pounds.
Right? Where the hell is this coming from? It's
Right.
not on this club.
Right. I mean, I couldn't understand like why the feedback to my body was so, significant. And I have a 10-pound dumbbell and I'm like, yeah, I got this. I can do all types of stuff with it. But a 10-pound club and you're just like, what happened to all my strength? It just disappears.
Exactly. Or it's like you start doing like swings with it and you're like, how is this 10 pounds going to fly out of my hands right now?
Right.
And why is everything burning so much?
Yeah, grip was the main thing. And so that's where I kind of, we realized that, we needed more kind of instruction. Like the guy who sold us the clubs, like he gave us like the once over, like I'm gonna show you, some basic stuff, and then all right, see ya,
Have fun.
back to my area of Bangkok, outside of Bangkok, and then I said we need to figure out something, and it was then my fiance, but now my wife, she had friends in Singapore, and she was like, "Oh, there's a guy in Singapore that seems to be swinging these clubs and doing some stuff." And it turns out he was a CST guy, and his name was what's his last? His last name is Chow. Herman Chow.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you know Herman.
I know of him. Yeah.
I know of him. Yeah, it was actually pretty crazy because I met Jolie down from right.
Oh, I love her.
So check it. I meet her in Austin years ago, and we're just chatting, and I was like, yeah, so I learned to use the club with this guy, Herman Chow. She's like, oh my God, I know Herman. And I was like, no way. There is absolutely no way. As soon as we connected on Facebook, you have one mutual friend, Herman Chow. I'm like, get out of here. Crazy, right? Like, so one degree of separation between two people who, both are from California and one in Singapore. That was just like absolutely nuts. To have
cool
that.
Stuff like that works out, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It is pretty cool. So like, where do you see, like right now, you doing like full-time, like individual training, or are you doing group training, or, what are you actually?
I do a little bit of individual. I do some group coaching over at Balance Point Fitness and Athletics here in Reading. And I just found a gym to be a part of, like a home in, so I have a community to hang out with and people to kick it with, and I got a place to film and stuff like that. So I help out with classes there whenever they need me to. So it's like 4 classes a week or something like that. But other than that, I do stuff around the house, and my big project is filming and doing my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to develop that and just keep putting out content and that's kind of what, because I helped start and co-own Wolf Fitness for almost 10 years. And I basically lived there for a decade, and that shit can't happen again. So I'm not going to be living in a gym anymore. I've done that way too long. So I want to be able to be home and relax, and I want to be able to have a studio. We're going to actually build a studio at the house we just bought.
Mm-hmm.
So then I have a place to film at home. I have a place to do stuff at home, and I wouldn't really have to leave very often, you know?
Yeah.
So that's
Nice.
kind of but what I'm working towards is just being able to not have to be in a gym anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
As much as I love it, and I'll still do it to a degree, I'll probably always, you know, be a part of Balance Point and places around here to just some extent, because I love the community. I love, you know, the people there. Like, there's just so many rad people up here.
Yeah.
But, like, so I can, like, I have to be a part of a community or else I go nuts.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't want to have to live anywhere else other than my house.
Yeah, I mean, you know, people always ask me about owning a gym, and I have this feeling that it would be nice. The nice part about it would be is that I really like community, right? And so I really like to have like my tribe of people around me that I enjoy, but I don't think I can put in the type of hours that is required to actually maintain a facility. And that, you know, that's
nuts, man.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
You're there from bell to bell every
Yeah.
time. You're there before the sun comes up. You're there when the sun goes down.
Yeah.
Like, you're sitting there mopping and cleaning and doing all that crap after the last person leaves, and you get home and you come back 6 hours later, 7 hours later, whatever.
Right. Right.
It's like, I can only do that for so long. My 20s are gone, so
Yeah.
I'm good.
So do you have any plans for any like online products or coaching, or, you know, are you planning to like do more with that, with what you're filming?
Yeah, actually, the YouTube channel, it's actually starting to kind of get somewhere. So that's almost monetized now, because like you get so many views and you're allowed to get monetized after that. And then I'm planning on doing like a little subscription thing on the side. So it's like, you know, if you want extra content, you can pay for this. And I actually had a couple of companies hit me up to ask me to make videos for them. So I haven't really ventured into that. I haven't like talked to them too much about it, but I'm considering kind of doing something like that. But realistically, just kind of what I'm doing now, and then finding a way to hook it up to my website and just do kind of a paid content also thing, but just give as much content as I can, more so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because really, it's all about trying to make the world a better place and doing something I love while I do it.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do, and if I can make a couple bucks on the side, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think like most of us come from the same kind of mindset of wanting to do, you know, wanting to make things better, right? Like at the end of the day, like I made a post recently about, you know, we have a responsibility, you know, as, you know, when we put stuff on social media, we have a responsibility to the community that we're putting stuff out to, you know, and I think there's a lot of irresponsible posts out there, and a lot of like stuff out there that is putting people in harm's way, you know.
Agreed. That's why we got to do our part, and all we can do is lead by example with a loving heart.
Yeah.
You know, with a smile and a loving heart. We can't talk shit. We can't whatever. Just put out the best example we can and keep doing it. And hope for the best.
Well, there's definitely room to talk shit, though.
It's fun. It's fun. But it's more fun to talk shit when it's fun, you know, instead of it causing a whole stink.
I mean, I just had this conversation with someone else recently. I said, you know, if you're gonna like talk about something that you think could be better, I think you have to also provide the solution. Like you can't just bash it just for the sake of bashing it, because it's you know, the person who's doing it might not even know that what they're doing is, you know, not useful or helpful. I mean, we've all been there. We've all, you know, and I think, you know, maybe even 5 years from now, 10 years from now, maybe we look back at what we were doing and like, oh, that might have been, that might not have been so good.
Hopefully, we should be. Anytime in
right.
the future, we should be looking back at now, or what is now, and be like, damn, glad I've grown.
Yeah.
You know, there's always something that we can grow from. There's always something we can evolve and we can get better at or be more mindful of, or anything.
Right.
You know, like we should always, if we're 5 years from now, we're saying the exact same thing and singing the exact same song, we got some problems.
Right. Right? I mean, yeah, I mean this is an industry that is constantly evolving, right? Like human nature evolves, we evolve. Like I think that it's just the nature of what we do. The science and the things that we do in general. You hear people say like, "Oh, it's been around forever," whatnot. But I think our understanding of it and our perspectives on it are constantly changing, right?
Oh yeah, and how it ties into everything else. Like I'm sure that you can attest this as well. But have you ever been just in a shitty mood and all of a sudden you go sweat and then for some reason you're a completely different person
Yeah,
and you're much nicer and you're thinking more clear, all that kind of stuff. So it's not just the fact that we exercise, the fact that when we move, what does it do to our brain? What does it do to our body chemistry? What does it do to all this stuff? And when it does all that to us, well, how can that change the world? And
right.
what impact does that have on the world? Is the times that we're lazy and the times we're not doing what we should be doing making us a crappier person, which makes our community a little bit crappier? Like
Right.
it's crazy to think that our movement and our exercise really does tie into how the state of us and the state of our community and the state of
Right.
our world. Like if everybody was a bunch of lazy asses that was angry about everything and insecure, we'd have a lot more battles and a lot more wars.
Right.
But if people walking around confident in themselves and knowing, hey, you know what? I'm confident with who I am, and I'm glad that guy is too. That's awesome. And we all live that way. We'd
Right.
be a lot happier as people,
Yeah.
and so it's not just the science of, the deadlift and the squat and this, but what have the impact it has on our lives and our societies. Like it's so much deeper than we ever realized,
Yeah.
than we ever could imagine. And the more that people see that, the more they'll be like, oh shit, maybe I should go for that run today. Maybe I
Right.
should go for a kettlebell. Maybe I should encourage somebody to do something instead of bashing them and say, hey, you think you're hot shit? No, he's
Right.
just trying to better himself. Leave him alone. Like, go do your thing. So it's just so crazy, like how much of an impact movement and exercise has more than just how we look and our athletic performance.
Yeah.
It goes so much deeper. I think that's also why I'm not too big of a stickler on what's it called, programming, and putting out a program. It's like you're going to use it for whatever reason you use it for. There's a million whys to do this stuff. I'm not going to give you a why. You have your own why, but this is
Right.
how you can safely do this and how you can safely apply it to your life. Because
Right.
I don't know what you're going through, but whatever you're going through, you'll deal with it in your way.
Right.
Because God knows I don't want you dealing with the way I've dealt with it, because I've dealt with things in terrible ways. So, so I'm not going to dish out advice on that, but I know how to help you move better and how
Right.
you want to apply it. Go for it. So with so many whys, it's pretty much unlimited. You know.
Um, so in general, what would you like to see like more of in the fitness industry or let me put health in front of that, health and fitness industry?
Honestly, lots of things, but one would be really cool is kind of like how the punk music,
Hmm.
like something that's so rad about that and that I've always loved is that it's such a grassroots kind of thing, and all these bands promote each other. All the
Hmm.
bands promote each other. All the bands, like the biggest band that goes up that night says to everybody, "Hey, were you guys here earlier? For the smaller bands that were here, you guys missed out. You should have been here for them." And they all promote each other, and they all know, hey, there's a lot of people in the world, a lot of people love music, and a lot of people can love all these bands and all these different ones, instead of just like, oh, don't listen to those guys, only listen to us, which tends to be a big thing in the fitness world and community,
Hmm.
or the fitness communities and organizations. It's like, oh, you like those guys? Well, I don't want you. You should look over here instead. And it's like, dude, we're all trying to help people move better. We're all trying to get people healthier in different ways and with different reasons, but that's what we're trying to do. So why not just help promote each other? Why
Right.
not, find the ones that you like, find the one you appreciate, and send them out that way. There's
Yeah.
enough people in the world to go around,
Yeah.
and there's enough things about our bodies and about movement to learn that none of us can have it down. None of us
Yeah.
can have it all. Like human beings, we're one organism, and we're millions and billions of parts. This one organism, but because not any one of us can get everything. But with billions of us, we can get a bigger part of the picture, and a more complete picture, and
Right.
get the insight from all these billions of perspectives instead of just expecting someone to have all of it.
Right.
But it's a trip. So if we see the humans and us as one giant thing, we're just trying to fill in the puzzle. We're trying to complete this puzzle together, but people want to do it by themselves instead of with a group. So it's kind of like, I guess everyone wants the credit for it or everyone wants whatever, but what's the
Yeah.
point? You know, shit, it's all gonna go away anyways. We're all just a bunch of silly little monkeys on a flying rock in the middle of some universe that's in a backwater part of a multiverse. Who cares?
Right.
Let's just have fun.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, that would be great to see, like, you know, that sort of thing happen. I mean, I think there's a lot of people out there who um explore everything. Like they want to actually see what's out there and what's available, and they give, a lot of stuff a chance. And I think there's other people who kind of get stuck in these spaces of like one perspective and one way, and they're just like, that's how they see it, right?
Yep. Exactly. But think about how indicative that is about a person's personality. Like if you're not willing to look at movement and exercising in a different way, what's it like when it comes down to important things? What's it like when it comes down to the things that really matter? Like
Right.
if you can't be like a little bit lenient when it comes to how you exercise, there's there's not a lot of hope for you. If that's what you're taking too seriously, shit, you got some problems. So it's just trippy. Like I don't know, and it kind of trips me out when you see like people spreading a wonderful message or whatever, but other people aren't willing to promote it because they're not a part of that group or that circle or whatever it is. It's like, who cares? Who cares where they're at? As long as they got a good message and they got a smile on their face, be cool with it.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. I guess I'm kind of a dorky hippie that way, though.
I mean, you definitely have a different perspective than I think most people. I think, when you live in like big cities like, San Francisco, LA, New York, in these sort of spaces, you tend to get a lot of people who are, clamoring for space, like.
Yep.
I think in other spaces where it's more wide open and more spacious, I think people tend to like be a little bit more like they feel a little bit more like there's space, right? There's space for me, there's space for everything that I do. Um, Whereas like, here in San Francisco, I mean, it's incredible the number of gyms, facilities. I mean, there's a Barry's boot camp right across the street from Orange Theory, and they're the same thing. Like they're literally like looking across the street from each other into each other's windows. Um, and yet you still have people filling both of those spaces on a regular basis. Um, so I mean, it's incredible the amount of uh, of closed mindedness there is within big cities as
Yeah.
well,
I
as
think,
far as fitness goes.
yeah, hell yeah. And I think that kind of has to do with what's that whole thing? The attitude of uh, when there's a lot of something and when there's not a lot of something. What's that? There's a whole thing going around like that about that attitude of, oh, dude, what is the word? Abundance. The
Mm.
attitude of abundance instead of the attitude of scarcity. So when you have enough of something, you're like, hey, there's enough to go around. Everybody dig in. But when it's an attitude of scarcity, you're like, hey, bitch, this is mine. Get away. Like, and it's like, it seems like the attitude of scarcity is a lot bigger or a lot more prominent in bigger cities.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it's prominent in a lot of places. And
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a part is like, we all need to realize, there are limited resources, but really humans and love aren't one of them.
Yeah.
And attitudes aren't one of them. Like, why? There's like, it's kind of trippy that we feel that there's so much limit on things there really isn't limit on, but the things that are limits on, we don't give a shit about.
Right.
We can throw whatever we want into rivers and oceans and this, that, and the other. No one cares.
Right.
But when it comes to what someone said to you on Facebook, then it all matters. It's like, hold on. Let's think about what really matters. And like the attitude of abundance is a great thing. There's always enough to go around.
Right.
Whether it's attention, whether it's whatever.
Yeah.
And so honestly, I don't know how you guys do in those big cities. Like I love visiting San Francisco, one of my favorite places to visit. But I got about 3 or 4 days there before I just go nuts. Like it's too loud, it's too many people. Like I don't know what's going on. I'm such an asshole when I'm driving out of there. Like I'm coming to town, happy to go on vacation. I'm leaving. Renee's like, dude, just get home already. I can't stand being with you right now. So much traffic, so many big hills.
Oh yeah, like when people say traffic, I just kind of, I mean, I've been in places with worse traffic, so I'm kind of like, to me, I'm like, it's not so bad. I've lived in Los Angeles for one. Their traffic is horrendous, and then
Hmm.
like I said, Bangkok, like, and I've heard at times that it's been worse in Bangkok than it was when I was there. That place and traffic is just incredible. I mean, like I've never experienced traffic like that in my life. Um, but and so traffic and loudness and all that sort of stuff, like I'm really used to. It's so much so it's so noisy in Bangkok and so noisy in New York that here in San Francisco, I feel it's quiet. Like
What?
that's
Oh man.
that's but I also don't live like in the up and coming booming areas. Like I live more in the residential areas of San Francisco, because I was born and raised here. So um I live in like the original housing areas, of San Francisco. Whereas the downtown area used to be just downtown. It was like you go downtown for work, downtown shuts down at a certain time, you go home to the outskirts of San Francisco. But now, like they've built up so much stuff in that area and housing mixed into the city area that it's become that kind of uh, lifestyle in that area. But
Right.
yeah, I totally get your point, man. Like, um, it's good to get away from this space sometimes and like be able to like breathe and like let go and be like, okay, I've got more space. It's not so crowded. Um, and yeah, it definitely plays into how you approach things. But I think we all have a very short-sighted um, vision of what's possible, right? Sometimes because it's like
Hmm.
if for example, if you take me teaching like steel mace, right? Now, one person might look at it and say, like, oh, he's taking something off of my plate or taking something away. But actually, the more I talk about steel mace, the more people actually get involved in it, right?
Exactly.
And it simply leads them to different paths, right? They find other things through it, right? So it creates this abundance. Maybe they find tack fit because I'm connected to people who do tech fit, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they find other organizations. Maybe they find Rick Brown. Maybe they find all these different things simply because I was mentioning the steel mace, right? So it's
Right.
like you're creating abundance by just doing and being, yourself.
And it goes hand in hand with your attitude of like, hey, I'm just trying to make the world a better place. But if someone's worried about, hey, you're biting my shit, you're doing this, you're taking my audience, what's their intent? They want to make sure that they're getting paid and they're the ones that everyone looks at and be admires.
Right.
So it's like when someone's kind of doing pulling that kind of shit, you can kind of see, oh, you just want to be a rock star. Gotcha.
I just want to be a teacher.
Yes, exactly.
I,
These
I
that's the beauty of it. You want to be a teacher, you want to make the world a better place, and you want to do it from something you know works. You
yeah,
know that has improved your life and your family's lives, and you want to spread that love to other people. And it's genuine, and that shines through just
yeah,
through your actions and through who you are. But
yeah,
when somebody does that whole, hey, you're biting my shit, blah blah blah, I'm the Mace guy or whatever, this is my league, then there's probably something behind there.
right,
There's a little something weird going on. They're not just trying to make the world a better place. They're not just trying to teach. They're trying to be admired. And if
yeah,
you're doing shit to get admired, this is the wrong game to be in.
yeah. I mean,
Go into porn.
you're.
Go do something else. You know,
That's admirable.
go do something else.
That's
Shit, go
very
get someone to
admirable.
admire you for. This is teaching. You don't teach to get admired. You teach to make a difference.
Right. You do. You teach to make a difference, and that's generally where my position is with the mace. Like I'm just really trying to make sure that people who pick it up don't do some of the things that I did. That you know that they understand that that they can be better, they can do better if they do certain things. And I think, you know, if that's where you're coming from and you're really genuinely trying to, like, you know, change one or two people, that one or two people then goes on and changes to more people, and it just has this ripple effect.
Yeah, exactly. I love it, man. Love it. Speaking my language. My face actually hurts from smiling so much from this conversation.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when you get crazy ass DOMs from a mean routine from a couple of days, your face is gonna be hurting until like Saturday.
You're gonna have
when
DOMs.
I can see you again, it's gonna be dope.
Oh, I can't wait to get one of those Med Ball athletic shirts, man. Like that's
it's yours, baby. It's yours.
That's been I've been wanting one of those for, like, actually from the first time I saw one, I was like, these are dope, you know. So yeah,
I'll bring them down for everybody for sure.
It's definitely vintage, man. Like, it's now vintage. Yeah.
It's been that long.
People are gonna be like, "What is Med Ball Athletics? That's dope." I'm like, doesn't exist anymore. Hell? It's actually now evolved into a new state, and so, yeah, this is one of a kind.
Like some old people used to do back in the day.
Hey, man. Well, it's been great chatting with you. I can't wait for this weekend. It's gonna be great to link up again. It's been such a long time.
Can we talk about that for a second before we go? Because I'm excited about this weekend. Would you mind chopping up real quick about what's going on?
Yeah. So, you just want me to explain? So we're heading up to Portola. We're headed up to Portola, and I'm linking up with Aaron Gayette, who's the battle ropes coach. We do a combined battle ropes and steel mace workshop, kind of just an introduction to steel mace and battle ropes training. Really, for the mace, it's mainly just a modern kind of approach to it, with a strength and conditioning sort of spin to it. So not the traditional not the traditional stuff. I do teach the traditional stuff, but I teach it from a totally different, I think, perspective than most people. Like, I'm a body-centered coach. Like, I'm not a tool-centric coach. I love the mace to death, but I like other tools too. And
my relationship with the mace.
What's that?
You have an open relationship with the mace?
Yeah, I have an open relationship with the mace.
She's understanding.
Relationship. It's a great relationship. But yeah, I mean, I became a firm believer that if you make the body work like it's supposed to work, then, you know, whatever tool you pick up, you know, will express the fact that your body works properly. And so, if your body doesn't work properly, then, you know, you can forever be trying to, like, hone the skill. But the skill has certain requirements of the body. So I barely scratched the surface on that topic when we do the mace and battle ropes thing. We kind of just, we spend like an hour and a half each, kind of just taking through, like, basic ideas and concepts, and then we do a little workout at the end, kind of, you know, we're like old school rappers, you know, you like pass the mic to the homie, and then he raps, and then you pass it back, and then he raps.
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, that's the way it used to be. Quality lyrics, and
yes, sometimes you're the hype man, sometimes the front man. It goes back and forth, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it's going to be a blast. We've done, this is going to be our third time doing that together. And, so we're still, like, growing in that way of, you know, kind of learning how we work and how we function. I've learned a tremendous amount from Aaron as a presenter, because, you know, he's very energetic. He's very charismatic, and, you know, I'm very low key and very mellow, you know, if you haven't been able to tell. So we kind of like, are yin and yang in that way. I'm not too high, and he's never too low. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like
Balance each
it,
other out pretty well.
it kind of balances just a bit. Yeah. So,
I can't wait to see that dynamic, man.
um, but but yeah, it's made me better as a presenter, which is awesome, and I'm super grateful for that, for him for that, and just looking forward to doing much more of these together because the more we can kind of, like you said, it's abundance, right? The more we can create abundance with each other, the more abundance just flows, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we got to be honestly, we got to be the ones that are willing to give first.
Yeah.
No one wants to be the first one to give. So fuck it, go ahead. Here, oh, sorry, but yeah, go ahead, give it. I want to give. I want to give because not just to get, but to know that that's how things can be better.
Yeah.
And to help lead an example. It's okay to give.
Right.
We need more of that.
So, it's funny because last week, I was telling my boy, "Hey, man, don't curse." and, and at the end of it, he was like, "Did I curse? I'm not sure." And I was like, "Actually, I'm not sure. Let me go back." And I think he might have slipped once, but I was like, "Woo, did great." But actually, we try to keep it straight. But this is going on. This is going on. I don't think there's any children watching at the moment.
Hoping.
Parents, don't let your children watch this, please.
Yeah.
But
I gotta do the same thing on my YouTube thing. I've refilmed so many things, so I just start ranting and cussing. I'm like, oh, I can't be doing this. I gotta refilm entire things because I just gotta lose track of what's going on.
see, sometimes I drop stuff just for emphasis purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you just really need to emphasize, something, and there's no other way. Like
Exactly.
it has to be done.
And when you're passionate, it's easy to be over emphatic.
I mean, I'm not a minister.
Yeah.
So I the only example I have to set for is myself.
Yes.
And my son.
Word.
But tell everybody where they can find all of your content. So your YouTube, Instagram, and all that stuff.
Yeah, YouTube is Jim Romig, and that's kind of my main where I'm putting a lot of effort and work into it and putting out like full routines and full videos and educational kind of stuff. But then I'll do my more regular content on Facebook and Instagram and even Twitter for Jim Romig. But then on Facebook, there is an internal roots movement page, which I would really appreciate if people go check out and follow because it's kind of where I put everything onto. So like my personal page, I'll put some stuff out on, but the internal roots movement page is nothing but videos and content. And,
Cool.
And then for some reason, when you put YouTube stuff on there, it rarely gets seen. So when you're trying to get stuff, go check that out. The way that they do that really sucks. They make you want to pay to get your stuff out there. But so out there, if you want to help out a coach that you know, go like, share, and comment on their stuff. Doesn't seem like much. It really does help more than you could imagine.
Oh,
and
it's
it doesn't
huge.
cost you a thing.
It's huge. It doesn't cost you a thing, but a click of the finger. That's all it takes. You see my busted thumb there. It looks like I painted my nail, but actually,
I was going to ask you about the nice color.
Just completely busted it. Painted it from the inside. But yeah, that's totally a Facebook thing. Facebook has completely monetized it in their benefit. Facebook and Instagram to some degree, which is it can be quite frustrating as a content creator. That you get this page and people are supposed to be able to engage with it, but they never see your stuff.
Right. And then every other message from Instagram is like, hey, pay for this one. Hey, pay for this one. Boost this post. Boost this post.
This one looks like it wants to boost.
Stop editing my stuff. If I put a YouTube hashtag, nothing shows up.
Right. Yeah. It's really challenging. And I think like even with YouTube videos, it boils down to subscriptions. Like, if you got subscribers, then it kind of starts to build a little bit more because the subscribers are constantly getting, you know, what you're putting out there. So, but yeah, I try my best to like, you know, send people in the directions they need to go to see what they need to see. But it's such a challenge. It's such a challenge.
For sure.
Yeah, people would rather share some like cat video than.
How does this have 3 billion views? Damn it!
Right.
I get that sneezing pandas are cute, but come on.
Right.
I've watched that video like 5 times myself. So.
All right, man. Well, it was good chatting with you. I've got to wrap it up, but it's definitely good chatting with you, and I look forward to kicking it this weekend.
Absolutely, man. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Talk to you soon.
All right, later. Much love.
Love.